struggling with this wig. It sucks when you buy a wig and you expect it to look a certain way and then you get it and you're like, oh, what the heck. What's up, geeks? So in this tutorial, I'm going to be going over Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So keep this in mind, my features are really opposite of Jessica Rabbit. My head is very long and oval, and I'm also Puerto Rican, so I have darker skin, even though my skin's not dark, but it's darker than Jessica Rabbit, and I've got brown eyes. And so I think that if I had features that were more like her, it might look a little bit more like her, but I don't. Like, my features are really opposite of what she has. Another thing to keep in mind, if you took Jessica Rabbit and you turned her into a real person, her features or the way she does her makeup would look very much so like a drag queen. I don't know if you guys seen Heidi Klum. She actually was Jessica Rabbit one year, and she looks very over exaggerated because that's how Jessica Rabbit is. Her eyebrows are really high. She has a really long crease. Her boobs are huge, like huge cartoony boobs. I also feel like she might look like somebody who is on botch, like somebody who has had a lot of plastic surgery. I tried to make it a little bit more comic book like because she's a cartoon, so you can add, you know, some lines throughout it, but to make it more comic book like, I had to add lots more shading on the body and on the gloves and the dress. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified every single time I upload. With that being said, let's begin.
So the first thing I'm going to do is cover your eyebrows. I'm going to go ahead and assume most of the population doesn't have a high arched brow and a very long crease. So to hide your eyebrows, you're going to take a glue stick and you're going to work the glue stick into your eyebrow hairs. You want to go upward with the glue stick, then downward. You want to go left to right with the glue stick, and at the end of it all, you want to make sure all the hairs are lying upwards. So you're going to go up with the glue stick one more time. Makeup remover wipe to remove the glue that is on the skin. You don't want it to be there when you apply your makeup. Once I've done that, I take a translucent powder, apply it on top of the brow to get rid of any shine. Now you're going to take your foundation or concealer and you're going to apply that all over your face and over the eyebrows. You want to make sure it's full coverage. If it's full coverage, it's going to do a perfect job in hiding your eyebrow hair. If you have darker hair like me, it might be a little tougher for you to do, so you might want to go over the eyebrows with a foundation powder, and that'll really like hide the eyebrows. A few of my eyebrow hairs were still showing, but it was okay because once I started putting the rest of the makeup on, you did not see the eyebrow hair anymore. And the foundation I am using is from Makeup Forever. It's one of their foundation HD sticks, which is a nice full coverage foundation. Now you're going to contour. You want to use a concealer or foundation a few shades darker than your natural skin tone, and you apply that to any areas you want to make look slimmer. You want a really slim looking nose because Jessica Rabbit's nose, it's pretty much 2 nostrils. It's very, very small. So you take the concealer foundation that you're using, you apply it down the bridge of your nose, and then you just blend it out. I also applied that down my cheekbones and around the forehead and jawline to just slim everything out for this look. Because she has that long crease, I use the darker contour color to start creating a higher looking crease. So the indents that would normally happen from an eyelid, I use the concealer to do that, and then I just blend it out. Everything I used will be linked down below. After you've contoured, you want to highlight. You're going to use a concealer or foundation a few shades lighter than your natural skin tone. You highlight down the bridge of your nose, the top of your cheekbones, center of the forehead, and on top of the chin. And this is going to draw attention to all these areas. For the infamous Jessica Rabbit lip. So you're going to be using 3 different shades of red. You want to use just a true red color, one that's a little bit darker than that, and then one that is darker than the second one. So a light, medium, and dark red color. You take the medium color and you use it to outline the lips. You can make the lips look bigger and smaller at the same time. So plumpy, small shaped lips. Now take the lightest of all 3 reds and use that as the base color for the lips. So something that is more like a true red color. And then you take the darkest color and you just kind of outline the very edges of the lips. So this is going to add a lot of dimension to the lips, help them look plumpier because there's all these different shades of red, and then it's going to make it look more like a comic book type of style painting. If you see something on my lower lip, you are not wrong. There is something there. I tried doing something to make the lips look bigger and I thought that it just didn't work, so I didn't include that into the tutorial. Anyways, you're going to want to create little comic book highlighting, so just take a white paint and do that on top of the lip. Okay, for the eyebrows, I use an eyebrow pencil to draw on the shape of the eyebrows because I knew if I took a face paint and I messed it up, I would have to take off everything I did, and I didn't want to do that. So I used a pencil first to draw on the shape, and then I mixed together an orangey brunette type of color, so just orange and brown paint to create the base color of the brow, and then I just fill in the brows using that color. Then I mixed together a reddish brown orange color, so red, brown, orange paints, and then I use that to create some little brow hairs through the brows that you can't really see, but usually brows and like your hair, it's different tones of, say, blonde or red or brown. There's different tones in your hair. Take a black paint and just outline the eyebrows because you're going to have to do that with a lot of the features to make it look like a comic book or cartoon character. Now that I've had that done, I mixed together a lilac color, and this is going to be the eyeshadow base color. So you just paint on the crease shape and then you fill it in with this color. Every single area on your face where you apply paint and body, you're going to use different tones of the colors. So on the lips, we use 3 different tones. On the eyes, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to use that lilac color as the base color. Then you're going to mix together a darker purple color, so it's darker than the lilac color, not too dark, and you use that to outline the eye, and then you just blend it toward the purple. Then you mix together a dark purple and you use that to outline the eye, so it's going to be the outermost color and it's just going to fade into that lilac color. You want to use different tones of the same color to make it look more like a comic type of painting, and also to add a lot of dimension. If you wanted to look like a cartoon, lots of times cartoons, especially cartoons back in the day, there wasn't a lot of like shading and highlighting going on, so it just depends what type of look you're going for. Now it's time to line the eye. You want to outline your entire eye to make it look like it's drawn on, and then you're going to create a long cat eye. Now you're going to apply your mascara. You apply it to the top and bottom lashes. You don't have to apply too much to the bottom lashes though. And then you end up applying fake eyelashes normally after you do that, but I didn't because I get irritated by false lashes, so I try to save it for last minute. So now I'm going to add highlighting and shading on top of the skin. So just like the lips, just like the eyes, I'm using 3 different tones that are close to my skin color, more like a light, medium, and dark tone, and I just apply them all over my face and on the body to create the shading and highlighting that I need to look like a comic book character. And I know that she isn't a comic book character, but I try to do a comic book style, like I said. If you need help deciding where to apply which colors, it's best to just reference an actual comic book and look at some of the characters inside of there to see where they usually apply the shading and the highlighting. The colors I'm using as the skin tone colors are Wolfe's Ivory, Wolfe's Skinz Brown, and then Mehron's brown paint, sorry. And I just mixed these colors together to create what I need to shade, highlight, and just create the dimension that I need to look a little bit more like a comic book character. And after I've got all that shading, highlighting down, I go back with my black paint and I start outlining everything to look like a drawing. So I outline my cheekbones, my ears, I create shadows around my ears, I outline my jawline, the nose not too much because it looked funny if I did that, so I just decided not to, just a little bit down the bridge of the nose. I outline the eyebrows again, and then around the eyelid, outline areas on the body like the shoulders, the collarbone, the neck. Then I create little markings, like pencil looking markings with the black paint. And then I also outline the boobs. So I ain't got boobs, I really don't. Like, I'm flat chested, so to make it look bigger I have to outline the boobs. And then I also outline the sleeves to her gloves. And yeah, you just do a lot of outlining. Now I apply the fake eyelashes. I use the Ardell 105s. I use 2 sets of Ardell 105s. So I just glue the eyelash on top of another eyelash. Now I go ahead and apply some blush. I didn't want to paint the blush on because I didn't want it to look too hard. So you just want to use a light pink color and apply that as your blush. Now moving on to the dress. You paint the dress the exact same way you paint the lips and the eyes. You need different tones of red. You use your base color, which should just be like a true red color, and you paint the entire dress with that. Then you move on to a lighter red color. You want to make sure that this light red color has quite a bit of white mixed into it because this is going to highlight, and this is probably going to make your boobs look bigger. So you want to apply that on top of the boob area and then down the center of your stomach. Then you want to use a darker red color, so mix a little bit of black in with it, and you start shading on the sides of the dress and adding shadows. I didn't want to focus too much on this area because I felt like I just feel uncomfortable, you know, just focusing on this area and having my camera just solely on this area. So sorry guys, I know it sounds a little weird because I am showing my body in the beginning, but it's just, I just feel uncomfortable. You just want to make sure that you add a lot of different tones of red on the dress because that's what's going to make a lot of dimension, just like everything else, and make it look more like a comic book. Comic books tend to have all those highlighting and shading features that I'm talking about. But I'm going to repeat the same thing again. The gloves, you paint it the exact same way as you painted everything else. Use different tones of purple and lilac colors. So you're going to have the base color, one that's going to highlight, and another one that's going to shade. You want to create shadows in this area, and then you're going to use your black paint to outline it and then create a little bit more shadows, you know, like the pencil streaks that I keep talking about, and then to outline your fingers when you paint your hands. That's the thing with comic book type of style paintings. You always want to use different, you know, tones of the same colors. Like every single paint that I do, it's going to be like that. Anyways, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your white paint and you're going to use it to paint on a little star shape here and there on the dress and on the gloves, and this is going to make it look like it's shining. And then you want to take the white paint with a very small thin brush and pounce the brush everywhere, so it's basically making a bunch of little small circles, and this is going to make the dress look like it has that glitter effect that Jessica Rabbit's dress has. You could use glitter if you want to. I didn't want to because I'm not a fan of getting glitter absolutely everywhere. After that, I went into the finishing touches. I went back with the black paint and I added more shading and little pencil looking marks. And I keep saying pencil, but it looks more like a marker to me. But anyways, marks on top of the body. I want a little bit more. Then I actually ended up using a white cream makeup to add more highlighting to the skin. And I went with a cream makeup instead of a body paint because I was able to blend it out more nicely on top of the skin. And I just, you know, wherever I felt like I needed more highlighting, I applied it. So on the top of the shoulders, down the center of the neck, around the chest area, near the armpit, anywhere I saw fit, I applied it. So that's it for all the steps. I saw people comment on Heidi Klum's picture saying that her Jessica Rabbit looked a lot like a drag queen, and mine does as well. And I just think that's how Jessica Rabbit would look if she was real. If you're basing it off of the cartoon version of Jessica Rabbit and you made that real, that's what she would look like. Unless you're trying to say, oh, there's a redhead out there and then you just put purple eyeshadow on her and then red lips and that's Jessica Rabbit. No, if you're basing it off the cartoon version of her, all the features would be very extravagant. Anyways, with that all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.